Ever tried to mark a hotspot on your Garmin only to get an error, or worse, nothing at all? On my last trip, my Echomap 94SV flat out refused to save a waypoint, and I was on a brush pile loaded with crappie. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what went wrong, how to avoid it, and I'm going to give you some key tips for saving waypoints depending on the view you're in, so you never miss logging that honey hole again. Stick around to the end and I'll show you how I organize and manage all my waypoints using Google Earth. It's a game changer. If you're new here, I'm Captain Kevin, and you might just learn something new that'll save your next trip. First, I'm going to show you an issue that I just experienced for the first time ever on my unit while I was using it this past fishing trip. So I was out on the water marking some brush piles, and when I hit the mark button, instead of creating a waypoint with an increased number on it, it created this Man Overboard waypoint. So I save it, and then I would go to the next one and I'd hit the mark button and it would create me another Man Overboard. I went out and searched the web and could not find an issue of why I get into this setting that it's creating a Man Overboard icon every time I hit the mark button. So I was at home getting ready to record this video and went through the simulator mode to create a waypoint, and it came back and said, "You've run out of memory on your waypoints." Well, that's a first. I've never seen that before. So I actually went back into nav info and manage data and go to memory usage, and you can see that I have 5,000 of the 5,000 waypoints used. So I have maxed out the number of waypoints that I can have on this unit. Now again, I've got all of my Alaska waypoints, my saltwater bay waypoints, my offshore waypoints, and all of my lakes across Texas. So, over the 30 years of fishing, that's a new personal check mark that I can say that now I have 5,000 waypoints. So if you hit that, that's one possible reason of why you're getting Man Overboard instead of an increased waypoint number. So you may have to go back in and remove some of your waypoints. So now I've gone in and I've erased 2 of the waypoints in my memory. If I come up over here with the spot, I'm holding my thumb down and I want to create a waypoint there, it'll create that 78 one there, and then I can hit back, and then you can see it up here, and then if I hit the mark button, it's going to go back and create that Man Overboard button, because now I'm out of memory again. So there, I've just shown you where you can recreate that error once you've gotten to 5,000 waypoints. So now I have this issue where I have 5,000 waypoints, and if I want to keep adding waypoints to my collection, how do I go above 5,000 waypoints and manage them on the device? So I manage all my waypoints within Google Earth. I can actually save my waypoints in different categories. So I can save all my waypoints related to lakes in one file, and then I can save all of my other waypoints related to saltwater fishing in another one. So the way you can keep them on the unit, depending on which one you're going to be using, and load them up at the time you go fishing, this is how you do it. So you go to nav info, you go to manage data, you go to data transfer, you want to replace from card, and you want to select a file. So here I've got my lake master. This was created in April of 2025. I could select that file and replace all the waypoints in it, and that would just be my lake waypoints. So that's one way that you can break up your waypoint files and use different ones depending on where you're located. So in SideScan, we're cruising along here in the boat, and let's say we want to mark this point right over here, this structure that we see. So we can hit the pause button, and then we can come over here with the cursor, and we can put our finger on that spot to mark that. So there's 2 options here. Mark down here, and then there's this other icon up here that's got a little, waypoint icon with a plus sign, and then there's also this little measuring stick. So this option here is to measure distance. So you can go from here to over to this side, and you can see that this is 27 foot. So that's what that icon is used for. If you hit the mark button here, creates that 79 icon. That creates a waypoint of where the boat is at that moment. It does not create a waypoint of where you have this cursor. So if you've paused it and the boat's gone 100 feet down and you hit mark, you're going to be 100 feet plus the distance off the center from where you just marked that. You can also go back in history if you scroll forward and backwards in history of what you've done on SideScan there. So that's just another tip there. So now I want to create a waypoint at that point of where the X is. You hit this icon. And that will create the waypoint. So it created number waypoint 80 at that position. So now if I come back over here to the charts and see where we are, you can see that it created 80. You can see the position of the boat, and then you can see that it created it off to the side, the left side of where the SideScan was. If you had hit the mark button, it would have marked it right there where the boat was, or just behind it, because the boat's moving forward. So don't make that mistake of hitting the mark button on that crossbars on the SideScan. Now we're going to talk about marking a spot when you're using LiveScope. So here in the simulator mode, you can see that this bus is here. So say I want to mark the front of that bus. So I can move the cursor over here. What you don't want to do is hit that mark button down at the bottom. That will actually mark the GPS coordinate of wherever the boat is sitting at that moment. If you want to create the waypoint of the front of that bus, you place it on the front of the bus, and then you come over here and you hit this waypoint icon, and that will create a waypoint. And then if I come back over here to charts, now I've got position 81. So you can see where the LiveScope was pointing out in front about 50 foot. That's where the front of that bus is now going to be. Now I know if I come back to that position, that is exactly sitting on top of that front of that bus. I had a friend ask me the other day, how do I go in and play with the different settings within the unit while it's sitting here on the bench and I'm not out on the boat? I can actually go into settings, and I can go into system, I can go into simulator mode, and I can turn on the simulator. That allows me to demonstrate the side view or the downscan while we're off the water. So in downscan mode, note that the actual current image of what's right below the transducer. As this history moves across to the left, this is old data. So the boat's moving forward or sideways, this is new data. So if I want to come back over here and mark this spot here, I want to come back in here and I want to move my cursor to that mark there. You don't want to hit the mark button. That mark button is going to show you exactly where the current position of the boat is, just like I've showed in my other examples on the screen. You want to come up here and use this icon to create the waypoint for where that cursor is. If you want to see how I manage my waypoints using Google Earth, see that video here. And if you want to see how I used LiveScope for the first time offshore to catch some large snapper, see that video here.